enough time to do that, to set that up just yet.
It's alright.
Here we go.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Rankin. This has been the long-awaited episode of Simpsons Categories. And yeah, so
I am Chris Clark. Yeah, this is going to be fantastic. That we're going to be doing the Simpsons categories. It's going to be fun. I love this. So discuss this with you guys.
yeah. And also with me, I've got Brooklyn. Brooklyn, how's it going?
It's going great. I'm pretty sure I'm the whole reason that this countdown is even happening. I was pushing for it for a while, and then I was like, we'll wait till it comes up with some weaker ones. And Malcolm was like, no, we're just gonna do it for you. I was like, awesome. So we're gonna have some fun, and friendships like as always are gonna be contested.
Yeah, and as always, the way the show works is we'll go around and nominate a character, and then we'll vote on who, if they get in, they have to get at least one other vote as well as a nomination. So 2 votes they get in. There's always a save. So if Chris brings up Sam's Little Helper as an option, and both me and Brooklyn say no to him, then he can choose to save him, and that's his one save for the night. So to get it off, I'm going to throw it over to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, who's the first character you're going to bring up?
All right, so this is my favorite character in Simpsons. I think he is a very well-rounded character. Has a lot of range, and there's a lot of humor that you can get from him in different situations. That would be the bartender, Mo Sislak, owner and operator of Mo's Tavern. Such a dark humor. Has a lot of suicidal jokes, but has a very soft and loving side and almost obsessive. Like you see whenever he saves Maggie, and he almost takes her in as his own and struggle for that. So Mo Sislak is my first nomination.
So Chris, Mo is on the table. Is that a yes or no for you?
Look, Mo has some of the best episodes surrounding him. You have a lot. He there was this one where it was like this woman, and he kind of had plastic surgery to make himself look great. That's one of the later season episodes that are one of my favorite. I love the whole gag in the early seasons where Bart would call into the tavern and Mo would pick up. There's also like Mo's had minor roles. Like there's this one in like season 1 or 2 where they're going camping, and it's fantastic with Homer and Mo and Barney. Maybe it's later, I forget what it was, but that's fantastic. And the whole chemistry with Mo and what Mo does for the show, he kind of anchor points a lot of the characters because of how depressed he is, and he kind of is a focal point for a lot of story, which is very, very good for a character in this show because there's a lot of ideas that have happened, and sometimes they run out of ideas, but they can always use Mo as a crutch. And probably like 7 times out of 10 they hit it out of the park. There are some clunker Mo episodes out there, but Mo as a character himself is iconic and deserves to be on this list. And yeah, he has a lot of great strengths, so I'm going to say yes.
And Mo is the first one that makes the list. I too would have said yes, just because it's one of those characters which definitely does a lot, and like especially when he's interacting with his, the bar patrons, it helps them with their problems at times as well. And one of my favourite moments surrounding him is the Lord of the Flies parody episode, in which just right at the end, the narrator goes, "And they're all saved by Mo." It's like
he didn't even appear at all in that episode. It's so hilarious.
It's just the most unlikely person to save.
One of the Oh, sorry.
Go for it, Broken. Go for it, Broken.
No, I was going to say one of the lines of Simpsons that I quote the most with my dad. It's during one of the suicidal moments, and he's about to jump off a plane. He's like, "Goodbye, cruel world." Looks over, ladies.
Into him. It's so great. It's so good.
But
I think that's a Mr. Plow too.
Yeah. Yeah. So my vote wouldn't have mattered, so I'll take the next nomination. I'm going to bring up Sideshow Bob. He hasn't been in a lot of episodes, but
Mhm.
this is what that even in the small amount of episodes, he's had a lot of development and a lot most times like and a lot of his episodes involves him coming up with some kind of plan to killing Bart, and by the end of the episode, Bart of the Simpsons ends up saving him and ends up stopping his evil plans. And one of the most memorable ones is when is with his brother Cecil, when he tried to turn evil and Bob had to team up with Bart to
Yeah.
save him. Is like when by the end is like, well, I'm not going to kill you yet, but just you wait. I will find a way to get you next time. So, Chris, Sideshow Bob is on the table. What do you say?
I'm on the cusp here. I love Kelsey Grammer's performance, and as you said, Cecil, and actually his dad too is played by his brother and father from Frasier, and it's a great little reference to that and a nod to Frasier because a lot of Frasier's writing actually influenced this great thing there. The problem with Bob, he doesn't have a lot of consistency with his episodes. Cape Fear is fantastic. His Cecil episode is fantastic. His father episode is a character for this list. He hasn't necessarily appeared. And you have like almost like what is it, 500 episodes of the show. He's probably appeared in like 10 or so. And yes, Sideshow Bob is iconic and he's made an impact. But to put him under 12 other characters who have had a bigger lasting impact because of the show itself and how many episodes they've appeared and been on the television, it's hard for me to say yes to Sideshow Bob. I hope you understand my argument, but I'm going to have to give Sideshow Bob a pass just because I feel like there might be other characters that can surpass him just because of frequency and appearing and quotable lines. Like Sideshow Bob is fantastic and a fantastic guest star, but that's basically what he is. So for me, it's a no, but I would totally be down for him being on the list if he's voted in.
Yep. And Brooklyn, what do you say about Sideshow Bob?
It doesn't say die, Bart, die. It says D, Bart, D. It's a yes. Sideshow Bob is my number 2 pick on this list. I feel like he brings out the best in the Simpsons characters, especially Bart. And just when you're played by Kelsey Grammer, I know this is a word used a lot by John Roca. There's a lot of gravitas and there's a lot of charisma, and while he's only been in a few episodes, he's memorable throughout those ones. And when you think about villains of The Simpsons, he is right up there with Mr. Burns as one of the greatest.
I'm going to throw it over to Chris for the last nomination of this round. Chris, who are you going to bring up?
This is my character of all time in Simpsons and one of my top 5 favorite of all time. He's one of the funniest characters in the show, one of the best lines. He literally is the stereotypical incompetent police chief. This is Chief Clancy Wiggum himself, and what I love about Wiggum is that Wiggum is just so inept. He's dumber and fatter than Homer. That's essentially what he is. And while he hasn't had many episodes focused on him, the ones that are in the later seasons, and they're fantastic. There's this one where he becomes best friends with Homer, and it's one of the funniest episodes of the later seasons. It's Chief of Hearts, I think it's called. Then you have also his love for Ralph, and he is so inept that he loves everything, and he's so incompetent. There's one person who came into the chief's office, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm here to pick up my husband. He's a DUA, and no, he was dead on arrival." And that whole fiasco was hilarious. There was one time where it was St. Patrick's Day and Chief Wiggum was fired, and then he was replaced by Homer and like his security officers, and then they ran the town, and then Wiggum got it back. And of course, though, the biggest thing that Wiggum has done is he was the focal point of probably the best arc in The Simpsons. It was an arc called Who Shot Mr. Burns? And Wiggum was the person that you were following to figure out who shot. It was a focal point of that that episode, and he actually and it's probably one of the most important episodes of the series. But other than that, Chief Wiggum has so many quotable lines. He's hilarious, and he is on the table.
Police Chief Wiggum is on the table. Brooklyn, what do you say about Wiggum?
This is so tough because Chief Wiggum actually didn't even make my top 15.
Wow, I'm surprised.
But when you mention, I have a more controversial choice than that. I'm so torn. Yeah, I'll throw them on there because I'm looking at my 12 and I'm like, there's one other person. There's like two people here that I could like throw off and I'll be happy with it. But because I kind of
funny as hell.
Yeah, and I forgot about his focal point in the Who Shot Mr. Burns storyline. But yeah, I'll say this.
Yeah, that's huge. That's really important.
And so Wiggum makes the list. I was torn because I actually think Ralph is funnier than his dad. But I probably still would have given it a slight yes anyway, because he is on my list as well. So, but anyway, Brooklyn, back to you for your next nomination.
All right.
It's gonna get hard now.
We are gonna go with the living meme himself. His dad was just nominated. So we gotta nominate the son, Ralph Wiggum. You could easily do a top 10 of just Ralph quotes. This is my sandbox. I'm not allowed to play in the deep end. It tastes like burning. I choose you. And then even
I
like
saw the leprechaun.
I
saw the leprechaun.
all my friends have birthdays this year. My favorite moment of Ralph though is whenever he's running for president, and he's like, I want a sandbox and a train and a dog that doesn't bite me and a brighter future. My name's Ralph Wiggum and I'm a good boy. Pick a winner. And they actually ended up voting for him. So much like the people of Springfield, I nominate Ralph Wiggum.
I'm going to throw it over to Chris. Chris, is that a yes or no to Ralph?
Can I just say this? Let me just say this real quickly. I hope I get this quote right. Okay. Prince was scared and missing plaza. I saw one of the babies and the baby looked at me. That is Ralph to a T. I think that's his best line ever. Ralph also had two of the greatest episodes ever. I Love Lisa and this little wiki where Bart and Ralph actually become friends, and it is comedy gold. So Ralph is funny, and people kind of say that his writing got a little lazy back in the later years just because he was used as a punchline. But I prefer to remember Ralph in like seasons like 3 through like 12, where he was actually utilized really well and had great writing. But had a good writer behind him. Ralph was gold. I think we can all attest that the writing has kind of gone downhill a little bit in recent years, but Ralph will always be iconic. And it's like his father's funny. He's funny. Like Ralph is just perfection, and he fell English that impossible. My cat's breath smells like cat food. And there's even the Ralph Wiggum line with Ralph Wiggum's song, which uses like all of his lines and they like put it all together. Ralph is perfection through and through. Yep. So join the Navy. Join the Navy. If you get that, you get that.
Well, I mean, Ralph not make the list, that would have been impossible because he did make the list.
If he wasn't on here, that would be.
Yeah.
One of the quotes that I forgot about too was, "Hi, Principal Skinner. Hi, Super Nintendo Chalmers. Meow. I'm learning."
Go banana.
One of my favorite lines is, "When I grow up, I want to be Principal Skinner or a caterpillar."
That was I Love Lisa, yes.
Yeah. But anyway, Ralph makes the list, and it is my next nomination, and I'm going to go for Krusty the Clown. This is one that, like, he's had a few good episodes, but he's had a few episodes which haven't been that great as well. But this is one of those characters which he has an impact on the kids' lives, and because they always, like any other school show, like the kids are always running home to go and watch, and it's just one of those ones, like those characters which when they show him in his bad moments, you sympathize with him, and when you show him in his good moments, sometimes you're just laughing along with him. But it's just one of those ones, like you've got some of his bad moments when you are forced to sympathize with him. It's just one of those ones, like you feel for him, and you know, like when you're in their position, you know exactly how he feels. Go over to Chris. Is that a yes or no for Krusty?
I have to break this to you guys. I've never found Krusty funny. I've never found him enjoyable. I feel like a lot of his story comes off as like self-pitying. He's kind of one of the more overrated characters, in my opinion, of the actual series. And he wasn't on my 12th. He wasn't. I mean, he has like a couple of his early things, like where he came back in that Krusty the Clown comeback show with like Bette Midler. That was funny. But I feel like Krusty's a one-trick pony, and yes, there's only so many jokes you can make about a Krusty burger and the bad food that it just kind of gets a little stale, no pun intended. So for me, Krusty, while he's just a character that centered on, the joke has gotten lost, and I just don't. At the end of the day, it's the characters I find the most funny, and I have not really laughed out loud on Krusty for a while. Like, there's this one time where he like had a monkey on his head, and he asked, like, why is this called the urine monkey? Ooh, I just found out. That's a great line. And he has kind of this dry humor that's funny, but he just never connected to me, and it might be an unpopular opinion, but I'm saying no.
I'm going to throw it over to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, what do you say about Krusty?
It is September 23rd, 9:58 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. I actually agree with Chris. I think Krusty is good, but not great. In my opinion, that there are 3 other voices that are better provided by Dan Castellaneta. He has his moments, but I'm looking at my 15 right now, and I'd easily put the other 15 above Krusty.
And Krusty
so
does.
Malcolm can save this.
I can, but I'm not going to. But in a way, I do. Yeah, I mean, for me, I like to save my saves for later on. To use it really early on is not a good idea sometimes. But I'm going to throw it over to Chris for his next nomination.
All right, guys, I'm actually going to go into a bit of a left field. We're kind of playing it safe with a lot of very, very major recurring characters. I kind of wanted to give this one a little bit of a shout. You know, as much as I had the argument with Sideshow Bob being in very little episodes, the 2 episodes that this guy was in, the most memorable, and this is actually... It is Powell, voiced by DeVito, Homer's brother, Herb. He was only in 2 episodes for a reason. Herb is Homer's rich. He was kind of, he wanted to connect to his brother, and it was a fantastic episode. One of the most heartwarming episodes ever was from season 2. And it just showed off the writing of the actual Simpsons show. Yes, this might not get through, and I'm probably not going to save it, but I just wanted to tell you, like, Herb had 2 great episodes. One where Homer was trying to get Herb's stuff, and then Homer kind of made Herb broke. And then the following episode is Homer trying to make Herb better and get him rich again, and making amends with Herb and all of that jazz. So it was a 2 episodes, all 3, and I feel like Herb, I just want to give him a little bit of a shot. I loved Herb as a character, and I wish he would return. So Herb is on the table, and it's in 2 of my favorite episodes of all time. So Danny DeVito as Herb is on the table. Very left
Herb
field,
is on
I
the
know.
table. Brooklyn. What do you say about Herb?
No. There are 3 better members of The Simpsons, and there's even a better relative that I would put on before Herb. Herb's great.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. There's outside of the main Simpsons family that I'd nominate before her. Not that memorable for me, but that could just be like where I kind of fell into to my love of Simpsons. I'm gonna say.
I'm with Brooklyn on this. I do like Herb as a character, but I think there is a few better ones than him. I mean, it's not to say anything bad about Danny DeVito. He's really great and all, but I just think that there's people that is really higher up than that should make it.
That was cool. If this was a greatest Simpsons episode, rank 'em, which we could do in the future, I feel like I will bring her back up again because these 2 episodes are some of my favorites. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not going to save this one. Nope.
I'm going to throw it over to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, who are you going to bring up next?
Yeah, let's go with that one. If there anybody who watches or who sees any of my posts, the first thing I usually say is "Hi, diddly ho, kids." And who says that the most in The Simpsons? That would, of course, be Ned Flanders. That is my next nomination. The supposedly the great Christian raised neighbor, always lending stuff to Homer, but has a not a dark side, but like a lot of his jokes are like holy shit. Because the one that pops up to mind is whenever he's reading Harry Potter to the kids, and he's like, "Once upon a time, Harry Potter goes to school, and then they all burned in hell for witchcraft and wizardry." And then boys yell, "Yay!" It's just like I find he kind of turns the dial a lot, and it works out great for the episodes that he's in. Also has quite a temper, and he's been kind of memeified with one of the episodes where he finds out he's really muscular and built. But yeah, I'll throw in Ned for my nomination.
Ned's on the table, and I'll go next. Now, I remember saying in a previous episode of the Late Night that I found Ned a really annoying character. But even though no matter how much I find him annoying, I think that's the way his character is written as well, to intentionally be that annoying one. And I actually do like this character because he has had a lot of great episodes, especially when the Auditorium went out of business and all that episode, and just had a whole lot of good memorable episodes. So it's a yes for me. Chris, your vote wouldn't have mattered. What would you have said to Ned?
Hi, diddly ho, neighbor. I love Ned. Ned is fantastic. Yes, all the way. And he symbolizes a lot of goodness in the show. Not many people are good people in The Simpsons, and Ned is one of them. So yes. And he has one of the best subplots with Homer in that one episode where the kids are snowed in, and Homer and him have their adventure. So yeah, I love his chemistry with Homer.
Anyway, it's back to me, and I'm going to go for one of the ones which so a lot of people are probably going to argue should be on this list, and it's going to be Bart Simpson. Bart is one of the staple characters of the show. His exploits are just really fun, and his bad boy image is just one of those ones that everyone quotes when it comes to Simpsons. He's one, along with Homer, he's one of the most memorable characters that one of the memorable members of the Simpsons out that a lot of people just like quoting all the time. Is just his plots with some of the other characters like Mulhouse have been great, and he's just been one of those ones which I've always gone to when it comes to Simpsons, and it's just one of the ones that I always like quoting. I'm going to throw it over to Chris. Chris, what do you say about Bart?
I think for this list, I'm going to be saying yes to two Simpsons. The Simpsons characters. As much as I love Bart, his sister is a lot better. I love Bart. He's a fantastic character. He's an iconic character. But if I'm going to pick two, there were two. And one of them is going to be Universal, and everybody knows which one that is. But if I'm going to pick the other one, it's hard because Lisa has so many better episodes, in my opinion, than Bart. And that's how I'm judging the actual family itself, is what episodes are centered around them and which one are the better episodes. Because a lot of episodes with Bart are centered around Lisa. And a lot of Lisa's stories are really, really good and have a lot of good morals. And Lisa has a good heart, and she has a lot of great personality and spunk. As much as I love Bart, he's kind of two-dimensional in a lot of areas. Yes, he's an older brother that likes to pick on his sister, and he has a moral authority. But what Lisa has is just so much. It's just she has so many more layers than Bart does. And if I'm picking between the two siblings, which would be this case, it would be Lisa. So I would say no to Bart. I would.
Brooklyn, what do you say to Bart?
All right, so this is where my controversial opinion, this is where my hot takes come in. Bart Simpson is not even on my top 15 because Bart works best whenever he's paired with others. You think about like Eat My Shorts, that comes from Principal Skinner. He does great stuff with Millhouse, Sideshow Bob that we've already mentioned. Ralph, Mo, Homer, Lisa. Like, as I was kind of reviewing my list, I was like, where does Bart fit in here? And it's like, he works great with others, but when I think about stuff on his own, it doesn't fare out. But it's also like, I'm so torn, which is actually why I have this. It's a little golf chip. It's kind of flip the coin, because while he works well with others, when he is there with others, his humor is great, and he plays off of other great characters. So this side is going to be yes. This side is going to be no. The fate of Bart depends on this coin.
And the fate of Lisa.
So we get a yes. Bart makes a list.
All right, that means yeah, because none of us are saying no to Homer.
No, so, I agree that Bart is one of the weaker characters. I think him and Lisa are actually the weakest of the four. But yeah.
But we do need some more Bart license plates. Chris,
so Bart's in.
Bart is in. Chris, it's down to you. Who's your next nomination?
I'm looking at my list right now, and it's really, really difficult because a lot of characters are big. Like you have Apu, you have Skinner, but I'm going to go with somebody that has been mentioned before, and he's been named after a Nintendo console. One of the funniest straight men on television because of the idiocy of Skinner. I'm going to have Super Superintendent Chalmers is one of the funniest straight men ever in an animated television series. He's so oblivious to lies, and he believes every single thing that Skinner tells him, and it makes them the perfect odd couple. And I every time he speaks, I laugh. And again, I told you guys, I put my list together on characters that make me laugh the hardest. And Skinner has never failed me. Even in the recent seasons, Skinner is always there with a very dependable little chuckle that he can give. And that's what I mean by characters that might not have the biggest roles in like an episode, but they have a bigger impact over appear hundreds and hundreds of times and give you that steady laugh, and not just guest stars who give you a big laugh and then they leave for a season and come back. I'm going to call him this. Super Nintendo Chalmers is on the table, and I hope that you guys understand. I love Superintendent Chalmers. He's fantastic. So Chalmers is on the table.
Yeah, I'll go next on this. This is interesting pick. I did have him on my list, and I'm going to say yes to him, because he's he's a really interesting character, and I mean, one of my favorite scenes of this is the bit in the house where Skinner was making you're making steamed hams. It's not.
Then he brings
it's not-
Krusty Burger in, and he's like, "Oh,
yeah, just that whole scene is like just a really great scene. Brooklyn, your vote wouldn't have mattered. What would you have said?
Aurora Borealis, at this time of day, at this time of year, at this part of the country, localized entirely within your kitchen. Yes. Martha. Yeah, Towers gets a yes.
he's so gullible, and it's fantastic."
Anyway, it's back to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, who are you going to bring up next?
I'll take one for the team, and I'll throw in Homer. Do we really need to say anything? Homer gets in.
Homer gets in. This was this is like the Piano Man, but better.
Yeah.
This is Homer is not just a staple. It's television, full of television, and there's nothing you can say about Homer. It's the best quotes, the best lines, which came back up, fell down the funniest moments in TV history. So yeah, Homer is probably the best TV dad. Homer will probably come up again if you do that. If you do TV characters or whatever, Homer is gonna be recurring.
Yeah, it's my turn to be a bit controversial. I probably would have leaned slightly to no on this one, because just for this. I mean,
all right, we're done. We're done, Brooklyn. We'll leave.
I mean, he still makes he still made the list because I mean, my argument is probably for me with Homer. It would have been the same as what the kind of argument is what you were saying with Bart. A lot of my favorite episodes with him is when he's working with someone, working alongside someone. I mean, I do like him as a character and a TV dad. It's just a lot of my favorite episodes with him when he's working with like Lenny and Carl or Moan as others. But yeah, all right. It's back to me now. Anyway, I'm going to go for the late, the great Edna Crabapple. I mean, I'm not sure if she's dead in the show, but the voice actor is dead, so yeah. But yeah, Edna Krabappel was one of those characters which, whether it's just her like one side heart or her interactions she's had with Bart in the classroom, it's just one of those characters which I always go back to, and every time I watch the episodes, especially when she's playing off with Skinner and the other teachers, she's just one of those teachers which just doesn't care, is there to get a paycheck, which reminds me of some of my teachers I had when I was at school who just clearly were just there because they had to be, not because they really loved their job. Just she's always institutes a lot of the strikes and stuff. But yeah, she's a great character. I'm going to throw it over to Brooklyn. Brooklyn, what do you say to Edna?
I'm going to be Malcolm on the Epic Rap Battles of History playlist. I'm going to say no. The dry humor is okay, but I'm thinking drier humor. I think of two other prominent characters. I'm going to say no.
I'm going to throw it over to Chris. What do you say about Edna?
Edna, actually, is my connection okay now? I feel like something has happened. Was I cutting out?
Yeah, you were.
But you sound better now.
Am I better now? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I had OBS open. My bad. So guys, I'm gonna say with Edna, yes. Edna has a lot of great episodes centered around her and what I think the woman who voiced her name is escaping me at the moment.
Trust me.
No, trust me. It was a great guest star. She was on it constantly, though. She only voiced Edna and I think like Miss Hoover or something. She was fantastic, and I'm Bart's teacher. Bart gets an X. Her romance with Skinner was fantastic, and yeah, Edna gets a yes from me.
And Edna makes the list. And it is back to Chris. Chris, who are you going to bring up next?
I am going to bring up. Oh, this is difficult now. Do I go with that one or do I go with this one? Okay. I'm gonna go with, again, sadly, they passed away, but this time not due to any fault of their own. They were murdered. Phil Hartman voiced one of the greatest, most notable characters in in Simpsons history. Troy McClure. You might remember him from such films as The Great Ape Goes to the City and Alice's Adventures Through the Windshield Glass. This is one of the greatest SNL performers ever, and whenever Troy McClure went on screen, it was a laugh out loud moment, and he made his presence felt. He was in a ton of episodes. He wasn't a guest star. He was essentially a series regular, and we miss Phil Hartman every day, but we also miss Troy McClure. I can only imagine the roles he would have nowadays in the show if he was still around. So yeah. Troy, and technically Troy is a Simpsons family member for an episode. He was Bart and Lisa's uncle for about an episode, a fish named Selma, but Troy McClure is fantastic, and it's not the show's fault, it's his wife's fault, and I feel like we missed out on a lot of good Troy, so I have Troy McClure. Was I cutting out there or no?
No, you're better.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot better.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, Selma's definitely been married to a lot of the reoccurring Simpsons characters, that's for sure. But for Troy, I'm torn because there's both Troy and Lionel are both on my list. I'm going to say yes to Troy because I really like him as a character. It's just his whole, hi, I'm Troy McClure. You may remember me from such obscure movie, show, special, whatever he wants to do at the time. But yeah, Troy gets used for me. Brooklyn, your vote wouldn't have mattered. What do you say about Troy?
I also would have said yes. I was going to mention Lionel Hutz as well. Chris nailed it right in the head with like how much potential we could have gotten before his tragic passing. Also, a quick fact check: Marshall Wallace was the lady that voiced Edna Krabappel. Just a little fact check there, but yeah, Troy McClure is gonna get on there for me.
It looks like temporary lost Chris, but it doesn't matter because it's Brooklyn's turn to put our nomination.
All right. So while I wait to get Chris back in here, I'm going to say hi to the cool kids in the chat. We see Matt Kearns, the cool guy. I'm still not sure who you are. I have an idea, but not 100%. We have Star Drew and Jonathan Peck, two regulars. Cody was in here to shit on me, but it seems like he's gone. And there's Chris.
Yeah,
Chris is back.
I just restarted my modem.
Okay, cool.
Am I better now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna try for this one and see. We're gonna try for Milhouse. Because Milhouse, like you mentioned, Krusty with the sort of pity. I think Milhouse plays that the best. Just the constant tear between his parents and like his relationship with Bart, and even he has some good moments on his own. But yeah, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say Milhouse for the 12.
Milhouse is on the table. Chris, what do you say about Milhouse?
One of my least favorite characters in the show. He's always been dry. I never really cared for the character himself, and I don't know why he's always paired with Bart. He's not funny whatsoever, and I just don't feel like he's that notable for me. I'm gonna say no to Milhouse. I like his father a bit. He has some good story, but Milhouse himself is just leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, sadly it's a no for me as well on Milhouse. Just because I mean, a lot of his storylines seem to be the same. Like it's always seemed to be either centered around his parents fighting over him, or it's a lot of times he appears it's because he's trying to get into Lisa's pants and all that, and but yeah. He just seems to be really one note. So sadly, Milhouse doesn't make it on unless Brooklyn wants to save.
Nah.
You might expect to me to nominate, and I'm going to go with Groundskeeper Willie. I mean, Willie is one of the characters that is just really great. And I mean, for me, one of the most memorable lines of his is Willie knows, but Willie doesn't care. And it's just a lot of those, and then especially with Lunch Lady, the scene in the last episode, which he just says to Lunch Lady Doss is like, "Lube me up, woman," and Lunch Lady Doss is just like, "Okie dokie," it's like as if it's just a normal occurrence to have to lube Willie up for something. So yeah, Groundskeeper Willie is on the table. Chris, what do you say about Groundskeeper Willie?
Groundskeeper Willie has had his only real notable role for me has to be the Treehouse of Horror episode where he was Freddy Krueger. What number are we at for characters?
We've got 10.
Okay, we have 2 more slots.
Yeah.
Willie does not make it for me for the last 2. Sorry, so no for me for Willie.
Brooklyn, what do you say to Willie?
I'm looking at my 12, and Willie is not on there, but my thoughts are brewing here. So let me think. I got Inky, Dinky, Doink, Doinkly, Doink, S, and Smurf. And Smurf is definitely not going to make on there because Smurfette is already on there. I'm gonna say no. Yeah, I'm gonna say no. I'm so torn. It's
yeah.
I'm looking at the other 5, and I'm like, it's a toss up between the ones, but I think there's some other supporting characters that need to get on the board.
Yeah, I'm definitely not heartbroken over that, just because, he is one of those ones which it can be hit or miss. So I just thought I'd take a chance and see what happens. So, Chris, is your next nomination, or who are you going to bring up?
I'm trying to think. This is getting difficult now. Trying to figure it out. I'm gonna go with, because I don't really like that character a lot, and he's all right. I'm gonna actually go with this. Actually, he was a focal point in one of the best episodes ever. Period. Mr. Plow, Barney Gumble. Barney is Homer's best friend. He got a little phased out towards the middle of the series with Lenny and Carl, who were not really. I'm not too fans of Lenny and Carl. But then he came back, and now Lenny and Carl all but disappeared. So yeah, Barney is the alcoholic drunk. He's had many great lines. He's had many great episodes centered around him and his sobriety. So and he's part of the doo-wop group that Homer did, and we have most of those members with us here, except for the other one, but we have half of them. So I love Barney. He has a great singing voice, and he makes good films. And Barney is always a fantastic, funny character. I don't know if I necessarily fully pick him, but I'm going to pick him right now because we're really running low on a lot of goodies. So Barney.
Barney is on the table. I'm going to throw it at Brooklyn. Is that a yes or no for Barney?
Let's see here. Yeah, I would say yes to Barney. They're much like other nominations that I've put up. He has a lot of two-tone. He has a lot of duality in his range, where he could be that drunk that has just one-liners and laughs. But for me, there's like during that sobriety. Those sober moments, and then even like the snow globe, like where it's kind of a musical. That's another favorite moment of mine, and Barney's kind of the centerpiece there. So yeah, I'll say yes.
So Barney makes the list. For me, it would have been a yes as well. Barney is just one of those characters in which you can identify a lot, and especially in the moments in which he's sober, is like you still find a lot to identify him, and his it was just one of those ones that really speaks out, especially out of the bar thing. Brooklyn, it's back to you for your nomination. Who are you going to bring up next?
All right. We're going to try for the next highest ranked on my list. This person is number 6. We're going to try for C. Montgomery Burns, Mr. Burns, the foil to kind of Homer's laziness. His sort of older approach on humor and how he's never fit into the modern trends is quite hilarious. The Alien episode 2. And just how absurd it is to get him to his normal self is actually quite hilarious. So I am going to nominate Mr. Burns.
Mr. Burns is on the table, and it's definitely a big yes from me. Mr. Burns is next to Soja Bob is one of the greatest villains on The Simpsons, and it's definitely one that I really don't have a problem being on this list. So, Chris, your vote wouldn't have mattered, but what would you have said?
This was the one that I kind of didn't want on. So I'm going to say it didn't matter, but I would have said no. I'm not a fan of Mr. Burns at all. I'm not. I really don't like how he does them. I find him like Team Rocket and Pokemon. He's just annoying.
Team Rocket's blasting off again.
Anyway, we've got our 12. Our 12 we have is Mo, Sideshow Bob, Chief Wiggum, Ralph Wiggum, Ned Flanders, Bart, Super Nintendo Charmers, Homer Simpson, Edna Krabappel, Troy McClure, Barney, and Mr. Burns. Before we go into our ranking portion, Brooklyn, did you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, so the ones that didn't make the ones that were on my 12 but didn't make this list were Professor Frink, Smithers, Nelson, Grandpa Abe, Mr. Skinner, and then Milhouse was one number 12. Then for honorable mentions, I had Mayor Quimby, Kent Brockman, Kang and Kobos, the 2 aliens, and then Patty and Selma, which were the drier humor characters that I enjoyed.
Chris, do you have any honorable mentions?
One biggie. I didn't bring him up because I knew he would have gotten a no vote, but he's in one of my favorite episodes of all time. It's Dr. Marvin Monroe. Dr. Marvin Monroe was part of that episode where in season 1 where all the Simpsons were in a dysfunctional family, and I've always loved his voice, and he was used a lot in the early seasons, but because his voice was too tough, Harry Shearer kind of retired the character, but I love Dr. Marvin Monroe. Comic book guy is another one we missed out on. I think Apu is a little overrated. I do. So I'm glad he didn't make it on the list. His whole controversy thing aside, I never really found his character too appealing. I would also say Nelson and Martin have had really good episodes centered around those. And the world is so big, but we forgot two characters, and these are the two that have been the biggest. Grandpa Simpson and Jasper. Jasper is one of the funniest old men ever in the series. I know a lot of people love Grandpa, but Jasper, you go outside, that's a paddling. He's so
Paddling,
funny.
paddling.
So yeah, Jasper's fantastic, and so is Grandpa. And I wish one of them could have made it. But yeah, other than that, yeah, it's a solid list.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, like I had, I actually had, I had Nelson on mine, I had Smithers, I had Kang and Kodos, and I mean for Kang and Kodos, I debated bringing them up, but then I thought, well, they work better together. They've always been together, and it's really hard to pick one of them to separate them on the list. Just like Pat and Selma as well, is like it's really hard to separate them and put one on over the other. So yeah, those.
With
And
Harry and Terry.
Yeah, and I actually had Otto on mine as well, but yeah. Yeah. Anyway, time to write down who you want at number 12. Brooklyn, who do you want at 12?
I have Edna.
Chris, who did you put at 12?
Burns.
And I too also put Mr. Burns.
Oh, you guys are awful. Really?
As much as I like the character,
Huh. I see how this is going.
The next one.
Yep. Brooklyn, who do you have at 11?
Keep it the same.
Chris, who do you have at 11?
Barney.
And I have one of the two. I have got Edna.
Really? Oh wow. I'm gonna keep mine.
Yeah,
the
for me, I think Patty and Selma are better in that dry humor than Edna is. Yeah.
10. Yeah. This one. Chris, who do you have at 10?
Same, Barney.
Brooklyn.
I have Troy.
And I have Barney.
Okay, that's fine.
This is a good list, though.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I would put okay.
Brooklyn.
I'm still Troy.
Chris, who do you have at 9?
Bart.
I had Homer.
Goes the chat. So between Bart,
Between
Homer,
Bart, Troy, and Homer.
nobody's gonna pick Homer. Bart, Troy, and Homer chat. I can't believe Homer's this low for Malcolm.
Yeah.
Bart, Troy, or Homer chat.
It looks like we only got one person, which is
That's cooler.
the cool guy said Homer leaves.
Really? Do we wait, I guess, for like maybe Star Drew or?
I don't think I've seen. Yeah, I. So it's a tie between Homer, Bart, and Edna. Who do you pick? Stardrew said, "I don't know."
Come on,
Just
Star
pick
Drew.
one, Star Drew. Do not pick Homer. If you pick Homer, this is bullshit.
Or are we allowed to change our votes?
If you want to change it, you can.
I'll change mine to Bart.
And Brooklyn saves us waiting on the chat.
Okay. That was rough. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot that this one was actually still hasn't come up yet.
Great, Malcolm. Great. And you said Homer.
But it wouldn't have mattered because it still wasn't one of the two that you said.
Oh, I think I know who he's talking about.
Brooklyn, who do you want for 8?
Still Troy.
Chris, who do you have at 8?
Coincidentally, it's another B guy, Bob. Sideshow Bob. Malcolm?
I'm actually not going to reveal it because I'm actually going to quickly change it to Troy.
All right.
What
I
did
have
you
a
have?
I have a feeling that you had Flanders.
It wasn't Flanders.
Okay.
Right, so we've got.
There's a lot of dead air, Malcolm.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
All right. Yeah, they got mine now. This is.
Brooklyn.
I'm surprised I'm slow. I got Chief Wiggum.
Chris, who do you have?
wait a minute. We're doing another round? So, wait.
Set for number 7.
Yeah, for number
Oh,
7.
okay. Okay. So, what did we vote last time? Oh, Troy?
Troy.
Troy.
Oh,
Yeah.
then I'm keeping Bob then.
Yeah, I actually had Mo.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so I'm not changing my vote.
Yeah, I'm not changing mine either. Wait, you know what? I'm going to change it to Mo. Yeah.
How dare you?
I'm saving Wiggum. So, yeah.
All right. Let's see how this is.
Right.
Forming alliances already.
Right, so we've got voting for 6. I've Chris. Who do you have for 6?
I have Bob. I'm sticking with Bob.
Brooklyn. Who do you have for 6?
Still Chief Wiggum.
Yeah, I mean, I was tied between Wiggum and Bob, but ultimately I went with Bob.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Well, at least I'm getting better at writing a certain character. Bastards.
I'm actually gonna go with this.
Also, a fun fact I forgot to mention for Groundskeeper Willie, he's one of like few people in the series to ever like curse. Like you don't ever say bastard. I think once or twice.
Yeah. Brooklyn. Who do you want for 5?
Still Chief Wiggum.
Chris. Who do you want for 5?
Super Nintendo Chalmers.
And I have got Chief Wiggum.
There we go.
He made it to top 5 though.
He did.
Which means that there would be 2 Wiggums at the top.
Right, Brooklyn, who do you want for 4?
It's Bart.
Chris, who do you want for 4?
Wait a minute, I thought Bart was already. Oh, never mind, he wasn't. Okay, then.
No,
Well, I have Chalmers. I have Chalmers.
Oh, sorry, I'm an idiot. I thought Bart was still on there. Let me change my vote right quick. You.
I said Chalmers.
Okay.
I actually went with Homer.
Chalmers.
All right.
Brooklyn sneakily trying to maneuver the system to get Bart higher.
Oh, I didn't want to get Bart higher. I thought for some reason I thought he was still on.
I was like, I thought, yeah.
Yeah.
We're voting for number 3, and it's between Homer, Ned, and
Ralph.
And Ralph, yes.
Again, this is based for me on laughter.
Yep. Brooklyn, who do you want have at 3?
Stupid Flanders.
Chris.
I mean, I love Ned, but he doesn't give nearly as many laughs as those other 2 Ned.
Yeah, I was almost going to do Homer again, but I went with Ned because I would have been a fool even to keep trying Homer.
All right, so this is number 1.
Yep.
Number 1.
Love Ralphie. I love Ralphie so much. But, I mean, there's no choice. There's no other choice. I'm sorry.
Oh, wait, sorry here. I'm going to change something here.
Chris, who do you have at number 1?
Ralphie.
Brooklyn, who do you have at number 1?
1 second here.
I'll go back to you. I've got Ralph at number 1.
Oh, you bastards! I had Homer J. Simpson. The J stands for J.
Ralphie beats Homer.
I mean, that's understandable. Ralph is the more humorous of the character. I went with Homer because he has some serious moments that actually pull through.
No, Homer's just as funny. Just as funny. Yeah. It was tough.
Stupid horse! It's a deer crossing.
Brooklyn, you tried your best, but the moral of the story is never ever try.
Come on, kids, let's go home. But we are home. That was fast.
But anyway, that's our list of Simpsons characters. And to recap, our top 12 Simpsons characters are: at number 12, we've got Mr. Burns. At number 11, we've got Edna Krabappel. At 10, we've got Barney. At 9, Bart. At 8, we've got Troy. At number 7, we've got Moe.
Rigged.
At 6, we've got Sideshow Bob.
Also rigged.
At 5, we've got Chief Brigham. At 4, we've got Chalmers. At 3, we've got Ned Flanders. At 2, we've got Homer. And at number 1, we've got Ralph Brigham. I mean, all in all, that's a good list. It was really hard for me to pick between Homer and Ralph. But yeah. But anyway, Brooklyn, where can people find you online?
You can find me at Take 3 Productions right here, running not 1 but 2 shows. You can find me here tomorrow at Jukebox Trivia. We're doing a dance-off. Actually, Malcolm Goldilay is taking on David Jimenez in our fourth dance-off. And then you can also find me on Thursdays, late at night with Take 3. This week we're doing the best superhero video games with the release of Marvel Spider-Man with a special guest to be confirmed. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at TheRealBK10.
Chris, where can people find you online?
Twitter, Instagram at ChrisClug8788. Those numbers mean nothing. And every Saturday producing the Schmodown Rundown.
And you can find me on Take 3 Productions hosting Rankum every week, and I'll have a poll up on the channel in a bit with 5 options to vote on for next week. And also you can find me coming out this week. I'm competing with Cody Newberry against Brooklyn and Harley Brook in a Trivia Schmodown match. And that's out on the 27th, is it, Chris?
Yep, 27th on
Yeah.
the on here on the it's the first match on the Take 3 Productions.
Yep. So you can look out for that, and you can see me beating David in the dance off tomorrow. So, and you could also find me competing in Full Metal Trivia tomorrow. So, and you can also find me on Twitter, Letterboxd, and Stardust at Melkor. And until next time, we'll see you when we rank 'em.